It's time for the 15th round of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network Formula One Series. And it's lights out. We're underway with tonight's Fix Auto Charlottetown Brazilian Grand Prix. Michael Dimitrov continues to hold the lead here. He's had it for the duration of the race. And again, Dimitrov and Darcy Ford battling for the lead. Corbin McCauley's right there too. It's a 3-horse race for the lead. As we've got a yellow in Sector 3. That looks like it's Zach Sullivan who's out. And we've got a safety car here. So, a bit of a game changer here. So, on the restart, it looks like we're going to have the two Alpha Flows at the head of the field. Oh, are we seeing some rain here now? I'm seeing drivers go onto the intermediate tires. Oh boy, we could have a whale of a finish now. This could be the first time we've seen rain this season. As again, we're seeing 6 drivers on the intermediate tires now. Here, I did notice it getting a little bit cloudier. Oh, there you do see the rain. But again, there's the worry I had about Michael Dimitrov. Dan Cudmore on the significantly newer and softer tires. He just blows by Dimitrov there on the straightaway to inherit the lead. As Cudmore spins, Dan Cudmore off. Corbin McCauley inherits the lead. Dan Cudmore trying to get it back on track. And as a result, he's down into 6th. Darcy Ford's out. What in the world is going on here? First driver on the intermediate tires right now is Jason Butler. If Corbin McCauley and Michael Dimitrov have to pit, they may well get up into the lead. Butler's up into 2nd now. But again, we'll see what McCauley does. He is indeed coming into pit lane. That has to be for the intermediate tire. And so your race leader right now is Jason Butler. 5 laps remaining now. But Jason Butler's still hanging on to his lead. He's got it up to about 6 seconds. There's 4 laps remaining in tonight's race. Currently the gap's 5.7 seconds, 3 laps remaining. It's down to 4 seconds now. 2 laps remaining here. That gap is still coming down. It's down to 3 seconds now. And it'll be a spirited effort from Corbin McCauley here at the end to try and catch Jason Butler as we're on to the final lap. And that gap is melting away still. 2.7 seconds now. That gap is still going down. 2.3, 2.2 seconds now. And it's down to 1.8. Jason Butler's still there. Through Junsao for the final time. And as they come onto the straight, we'll see if we have enough time for Corbin McCauley here. But it looks like Jason Butler's going to hang on as he passes the start-finish line. Here goes your winner, the 5190 Racing Bugatti of Jason Butler.
The online racing league we know today as the E-Motorsports Network formed in March 2020, right as the COVID-19 pandemic spread across the world. People were looking for alternative forms of entertainment, and sim racing was becoming an incredibly popular option.
Sim racing had been just taking off like crazy over the pandemic. We had full field, talented on-track excitement. The broadcasts were done very well. Our social media presence was very high. So it quickly became a very popular thing to do in 2020.
Originally conceived as a bit of an outlet to see whether or not esports would work at Holland College, the Canadian E-Motorsports Series quickly took on a life of its own through the NASCAR series before eventually realizing there was demand for a secondary series. Within the summer of 2020, plans began being formed for an F1 series within what was now known as the Canadian E-Motorsports Network.
Hello and welcome to the debut of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network Formula One Series, the inaugural Grand Prix, live from Albert Park in Melbourne, Australia. Five lights. Headlights out, it's go! Cody Cudmore now starts them off.
It produced some entertaining racing, it brought some new faces in, but it definitely brought a dominant star in the form of Corbin McCauley.
Hi, my name is Corbin McCauley. I was the driver of the number 80 Hurricanes E-Motorsports Honda in the Formula One Series, and I was the Drivers' Champion of 2020.
And taking the checkered flag and the win at the Crack Device Monaco Grand Prix. There's the checkered flag, and it's waving for the Hurricanes E-Motorsports Honda of Corbin McCauley. And your winner of the Fix Auto Charlottetown City Collision Services Canadian Grand Prix for the 4th time this season. Your winner of the Logitech Gaming Hungarian Grand Prix. Your winner for the 2nd straight week is the Hurricanes E-Motorsports Honda of Corbin McCauley. Your race winner tonight in the Crack Device Company Italian Grand Prix. Your winner for the 7th time this season and taking the checkered flag at the Summerside Toyota Japanese Grand Prix. And your winner for the 8th time this season is Corbin McCauley.
There was no denying what Corbin McCauley, driving the number 80 Hurricanes E-Motorsports Honda, was going to be capable of on the F1 side. To this point, he had won 9 of 14 races en route to having clinched the Drivers' Championship already.
Your champion of the Taco Boys Next Team Grand Prix and the overall champion of the Formula One Series in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network is the Hurricanes E-Motorsports Honda of Corbin McCauley.
We had all sorts of stuff happen throughout the year. Corbin McCauley, he had already clinched the championship. It was a bit of a coming out party for him. You also had drivers like Darcy Ford, who had multiple wins. I think he had 3 wins.
The winner of the Centennial Auto Sport and Tire Spanish Grand Prix is Darcy Ford. The winner is Darcy Ford in the Aries Racing Ferrari. Darcy Ford, he's going to take the checkered flag. He wins tonight's Press for Time print design copy Chinese Grand Prix.
You had Zach Sullivan with a couple of wins.
The winner of the inaugural Grand Prix at Albert Park in Australia is Zach Sullivan in the North Border Racing Ferrari.
So going into Brazil, there was a lot of excitement.
Which was round 15 of 16.
2 races to go. Everyone else was fighting for 2nd place effectively.
And we had battles all through the standings. While the Drivers' Championship was locked up, I know Darcy Ford and Zach Sullivan, they were battling for 2nd still. Myself and my teammate, we were battling for 5th. There was a race for 7th in the standings, and then there was a whole bunch of drivers that were separated by only a few points all the way down the grid. And then there was the Constructors' Championship. Hurricanes E-Motorsports were hoping to secure the championship, but I believe there were scenarios where up to 4 teams could still win the title going into the final 2 races.
Here's the thing. This wasn't just any other race that we were going to. The Interlagos circuit, it's special to a lot of drivers.
Brazil, I always love racing at Brazil.
Brazil's history with open wheel motorsport, particularly on the F1 side of things. Ayrton Senna.
Huge Senna fan my whole life.
Multiple time world champion. He was the embodiment of what Formula One was, the real racer's racer, the guy who had an aura about him. Brazil has a rich auto racing history. To be able to win a race at Interlagos, in a way it almost felt like you were honoring Senna's. It felt like there was still something in the air, so to speak, going into that penultimate race at Interlagos. The one thing that we hadn't really seen in this series throughout the course of the year was any form of weather. And I know there was a lot of chatter ahead of time wondering if this was the time where the skies would open up. Boy, oh boy, did they ever. That night just so happened to be my birthday as well. In the back of my head, I was wondering if maybe there'd be some dramatics. I wasn't expecting the birthday present I got from this one. So qualifying for the Brazilian Grand Prix produced its own set of adventures.
As we see the Hurricanes E-Motorsports driver go out, followed by, I believe, a Silver Hornet there too. That final turn onto the start-finish straight. Let's see where he clocks in. 110.691 seconds. So very respectable effort here from McCluckey with Ivan Reynolds as he comes across the line, 111.805.
It was an 18-minute format, single best time.
Darcy Cudmore sets the pole time early, 109.363. So really good lap there from the Silver Hornet Mercedes. Mark Cox goes up into 2nd, so Darcy Cudmore is still your pole sitter right now as Cody Cudmore comes through and moves up into 3rd, 109.356 seconds.
For the majority of those 18 minutes, it was looking like the number 2 Alpha Flow of Daniel Cudmore was going to be the guy sitting on pole.
My name's Daniel Cudmore, and in 2020 I was driver of the number 2 for the Alpha Flow F1 racing team.
Dan Cudmore, who goes fastest, 108.180. What a lap from the Alpha Flow. Gauntlet's been laid down by Daniel Cudmore.
Qualifying, it kind of gave you an idea of where you stood in relation to the rest of the field at that track on that given day.
Corbin McCauley, he comes in second, 1 minute, 8.594 seconds, so 4/10 back of Dan Cudmore for pole position.
That track is awesome. It's one of the most fun Formula One tracks out there. That second sector is extremely challenging because there's a lot of low-speed corners, and those low-speed corners are kind of where I try to find the most speed.
And he's into 10th now, 110.058 seconds. So good lap from Colin Doran. We've got just over 6 minutes remaining in the session. Dan Cudmore still on pole here right now, 4/10 of a second up on Corbin McCauley, as Darcy Ford jumps up into third. He's currently 4/10 of a second back of Dan Cudmore for pole position. Let's see what he's got at the line here. And unable to beat Dan Cudmore, 108.305. So the Alpha Flow Honda of Dan Cudmore still on pole position here. And so right now it looks like Alpha Flow is starting 1-3 here. We'll stay with Corbin McCauley as he finishes up this lap to see if he's able to beat Dan Cudmore at the line. And it doesn't look like he will, but the gap gets even smaller, 108.267. We'll see if Butler's able to beat his time. And Butler into the 108s, into the top 5 as a result. We're just over 2 minutes remaining in the session. Dan Cudmore is still your pole sitter right now. As Sullivan comes through, let's see what he's got. 109.111, that puts him in a 9.
The Formula One car, I've been able to look at and figure it out a little bit easier than, say, a stock car or an oval racing car. Having all of these points throughout the track where you can improve where you brake and your braking point and acceleration and get through certain corners, it's something that's just clicked with me a little bit more.
He'd had his moments over the course of the year, but didn't really have that sort of standout performance in a way, and yet his early time of 108.1, it stood up for the majority of the session, and then the clock hit triple zeros.
And so let's check in on Corbin McCauley. He's making his way around for the final time, Jun Zhao into this straightaway.
So one thing you need to know about Corbin McCauley, regardless of what he's driving, the guy is fast.
Again, just 87 1,000ths behind Dan Cudmore.
Right up until the clock expired, Corbin McCauley was on that hot lap. You see the time on the board, 107.5.
He's got pole, 107.538. Pulling the rabbit out of his hat here at the very end is Corbin McCauley.
0.6 of a second faster than anybody else. Where in the world did that come from?
Right up until the clock ticked down to 0, seeing him cross the line, bump me off pole, you can't really be surprised it happened when you have someone like Corbin. He's so fast. He had been doing it all year long.
Because it was so late in the qualifying session, I was just thinking I'm just going to try whatever and hope it sticks. And there were several times where I got back on the gas a little bit sooner than before and the tail get a little happy, but it ended up working out in the end. Like, I feel as though it's a cooler moment if you can get the pole right at the last second and your heart's pumping and the adrenaline's going, and that's just kind of, it's a feeling I love.
It will be Corbin McCauley on pole once again for Hurricanes E-Motorsports Honda. That's your series champion, of course. Dan Cudmore alongside him on the front row in his Alpha Flow Honda. Cody Cudmore will start third in the Silver Hornet Mercedes. The second Alpha Flow, Michael Dimitrov, starts fourth. Welcome back to tonight's coverage of the Fix Auto Charlottetown Brazilian Grand Prix. 36 laps tonight here at the virtual Interlagos circuit.
So it was Corbin McCauley on pole after that absolutely blistering lap at the end of the session, and Dan Cudmore on his outside. And that's an important distinction at this point, because while Corbin had already grabbed the Drivers' Championship, the Constructors was still very much up for grabs. Hurricanes E-Motorsports, headed by McCauley along with teammate Colin Doran, they were in the lead at that particular point and had an opportunity to clinch that night, but they were under hot pursuit from Alpha Flow, which consisted of Dan Cudmore and Michael Dimitrov, who qualified fourth, along with Aries Racing, which consisted of lead driver Darcy Ford qualifying fifth, along with Ivan Reynolds. And then North Border Racing and their Ferrari, they were still very much in the mix as well. Still a lot of variables to be determined, still a lot to race for, and as we would find out, they needed to race for all of it.
The racing mentality in me still says I want to go out there and win the race. I'm not going to back down from the challenge. I just had that same mentality of let's try to win the race. I still want to add another win to the resume.
When you look at the start of a race, it's probably the most nerve-wracking part of the whole deal. Qualifying is done, you're in your position on the grid, and you're just sort of sitting there waiting for the race to begin. It's easy to get a little bit too pumped up. You have everybody side by side, nose to tail, and you're really wanting to jump out and have that awesome start. There's so much action happening around you, the sounds and the cars.
So, what exactly happened at the start of this race? A lot happened.
And here we go. We're just waiting to get ready. Lights out. We're underway with tonight's Fix Auto Charlottetown Brazilian Grand Prix. Corbin McCauley gets a good start off the line. Dan Cudmore's right there with him, though. And Michael Dimitrov there, too. The Alpha Flow's getting off the line really well in the opening couple corners. Through the curve of Del Sol, it looks like Dan Cudmore is your leader. Corbin McCauley into second. Michael Dimitrov third. Looks like McCauley ran a little bit wide there. And we're still on board with Dan Cudmore right now. But it looks like it's his Alpha Flow teammate, Michael Dimitrov, that's got the lead here. Coming through Pico de Ponto for the first time. Let's go back to our leader, Michael Dimitrov, as he comes through that final straightaway onto the start-finish straight.
Corbin, while known as being a fast driver, he didn't necessarily get the greatest start off the line in this one, and as a result, that saw him drop down to fifth.
Any racer, if they lose 5 spots on the start, they're going to be mad at themselves. You get mad at yourself at the time, but then at that point you got to lock in and say, hey, it's okay that I lost these spots, I'm just going to get them back. Obviously, it's frustrating, but knowing my capabilities, I was kind of calm about it, and eventually I did make it out to the front.
Eventually, it became a battle between Michael Dimitrov and Dan Cudmore at the head of the field, as things were looking really good for the two Alpha Flows.
We had gotten off to a great start. We needed some things to go our way. It was certainly a nice thing to see as him and I took that 1-2 off the start immediately and showed that we weren't going to back down in the championship and give it our best effort over the next 2 races.
Dimitrov would eventually take the lead. An accident involving the IB Pro Fun of Blake Bernard would bring out a virtual safety car.
We've got a yellow in Sector 3. Again, it looks like Blake Bernard may have gone off at Jinsao, and it's a DNF. It's a virtual safety car now.
Dimitrov was really able to take hold of the race, but not without significant challenges from Darcy Ford and Corbin McCauley.
Lap by lap, try to get better every single lap, try to make up more time as best you can, and eventually it did end up working out in my favor.
The battles involving Dimitrov, Ford, and McCauley, they were so close that 3 cars looked like one. Whenever we say that top 2 or 3 in a race can be covered by a blanket, that was pretty much literally the case here.
We're on board with our race leader, Michael Dimitrov, but as you can see, that gap that he previously enjoyed is now virtually gone.
Eventually, as Corbin McCauley took the lead on lap 10, the first round of pit stops began.
Mike was leading for his entire first stint until he pitted for the first time, and he elected to throw the hard tires on, and his plan was to make it to the end.
As we settled into the middle part of the race, a lot of the early strategy questions seemed to be answered, especially on lap 14 when Corbin McCauley and Darcy Ford both came in.
And speaking of pit stops, here comes Corbin McCauley from the lead. And let's see what Darcy Ford does. He's pitting as well.
Ford pitted for medium tires while McCauley opted for the hard.
Where did that pace come from for Corbin McCauley to come out still in the lead?
That number 80 was in his familiar place at the top of the leaderboard, and it all looked like it was just going to be smooth sailing. Until it wasn't.
At the start of the race, everybody was anticipating a dry race from start to finish.
I was hitting my engineer button nonstop asking about rain.
When you're getting your alerts from the pit wall, there really wasn't any discussion of we're expecting rain later in the race.
So even though it had been an eventful Brazilian Grand Prix already, it felt like guys were just more or less getting into a bit of a rhythm.
We're on board with our race leader, Corbin McCauley, whose gap to second place, Michael Dimitrov. is a relatively healthy 4.2 seconds.
Until the end of lap 24 and into the start of lap 25, and that triggered a full field safety car.
As we've got a yellow in sector 3, that looks like it's Zach Sullivan who's out. And we've got a safety car here, so a bit of a game changer here.
Completely altering the trajectory of the race.
It has the potential to be a game changer here, as we'll see what everybody decides to do.
There's about 10 laps to go. We entered into this stretch of the craziest 10-lap stretch for our series.
There's decisions that have to be made. Guys who might have been on longer tire stints, maybe they duck into the pits to get a set of softs. Maybe there's guys who opt to maintain track position and try to hold off until the end of the race.
As again, we'll see how everything goes here. I would imagine the majority of the field will opt for soft tires.
Remember what I said about weather at Brazil a little bit earlier? Yeah, that was the other factor in this one.
The skies were definitely clouding over. They were looking more threatening.
The skies were starting to get really dark right around that time.
There was then chatter of expect rain, it's going to come.
You were starting to get radio messages, weather approaching, rain could be coming in a X number of minutes.
Looks like rain is inbound, and we're expecting it in around 5 minutes. 5 minutes till the rain dries seem like the best tyre for now.
There was one point where it was like 10 minutes away, 5 minutes away. It made it seem like there wasn't going to be much rain.
I was hitting my engineer button nonstop asking about rain, and I was getting update after update, maybe every lap.
But even at that time, my thoughts were, I have 10 laps to go. The track is completely dry.
Right now, the dry tire is still the option.
And I do remember how lucky I was. And as I was just about finishing my lap, that's when the lights came on. So for me, it was almost like a free pit stop. I put soft tires on. I'm in a really good position. It was a really beneficial timing of that safety car for my race.
And Dan Cudmore, the first to go in for the soft tires for this sprint to the finish.
The soft tires were wearing out really fast in that race. So I threw on the medium tires in hopes that the rain would stick away.
The one guy who didn't necessarily take the pit wall's advice straight away, 5190 Racing Bugatti of Jason Butler.
Hi, my name's Jason Butler, and in the 2020 F1 Series, I drove the number 28 5190 Racing Bugatti.
As soon as that safety car hit, he was ducking in and he was making the move to the intermediate, which proved to be genius.
As soon as the caution happened, I was like in the pits, get the inters on, let's go.
On seeing drivers go onto the intermediate tires, oh boy, we could have a whale of a finish now. This could be the first time we've seen rain this season.
It was not raining when I changed my tires. Maybe the rain will come by the time we start to run. Hopefully nobody's going to change their tires right away, and most people didn't. I still wasn't 100% sure that it was going to rain, and I was just looking for an opportunity to jump on it in front of everybody else.
And I remember seeing that, oh, he's going with the intermediate tires, and at that point, my initial feelings, I remember, was I've lucked out, I've made the right decision. Seeing the intermediates go on was the wrong decision, but clearly I was incorrect.
I do remember having a couple bad races, and I was just like, you know what, let's just throw caution to the wind and see what happens. So I just felt that I had to try something.
It was just a guessing game of, is the track going to become wet enough to need those wet tires, or is it going to remain dry enough where slicks are the way to go? And I believe the field was about 50-50.
And then that's kind of when all the craziness started to happen.
And if that happens, that is an absolute game changer too. As again, we're seeing 6 drivers on the intermediate tires now.
It was really a chaotic safety car period where everybody was in and out of the pits. There were so many different types of strategies. You didn't know what the outcome was going to be and who was going to be right with the gambles they were making.
That brings us back to the restart on lap 28. Michael Dimitrov in his Alpha Flow has control of the field, but he's doing so on 14-lap-old hard tires.
I think he was caught off guard a little bit with the safety car.
Pretty much everyone challenging behind him was on a fresh set.
You had guys like Corbin McCauley. He took mediums and he stayed on the slick tires.
5 years later, honestly, I probably would have pit earlier.
I believe even Darcy Ford pitted twice during that safety car. I think he stopped and put soft tires on, but then had to pit again and changed his mind and put the intermediate.
The safety car is coming in this lap.
You saw Dimitrov get swallowed up by Daniel Cudmore, his own Alpha Flow teammate.
We are green flag racing here, so great jump from the Alpha Flows off the line.
I was really happy with the position that I was in. I was in second position behind my teammate.
The two Alpha Flows running side by side, but again, there's the worry I had about Michael Dimitrov. Dan Cudmore on the significantly newer and softer tires. He just blows by Dimitrov there on the straightaway to inherit the lead.
I was able to get a quick jump. I was able to get by Michael within the first corner or two.
It looked like if the skies held off, it was going to be Dan Cudmore's to lose at that point.
We're on board with our race leader, Dan Cudmore. Started second tonight, easily his best qualifying position. And he's gotten off to an absolute dream start here off the restart.
However, the skies decided they wanted to open up just that little bit more, just enough to make the track surface greasy.
The rain had just started to come.
Toward the end of lap 29, that is when everything started to happen all at once.
It was a matter of a couple of corners. There was so much happening.
You get Dan Cudmore spinning out of the lead, out of the Jinsao corner.
As Cudmore spins, Dan Cudmore off.
Quickly realized that I was on the wrong tire.
Darcy Ford crashing into the wall.
Darcy Ford's out. What in the world is going on here?
The track just kept becoming more and more saturated.
You see everybody scrambling to get onto the intermediate tire.
I was able to get back on track and quickly dive into the pits and finally get intermediates on, probably 3 or 4 laps too late.
And there you see the green intermediates going on for Dan Cudmore.
And I remember thinking to the broadcast, Jordy has his hands full right now because there is so much happening.
So don't go anywhere for this ending. This could be an absolute classic finish here.
Suddenly, there were some big points up for grabs. Somewhere along the line, there was also a virtual safety car. Dimitrov was assessed a drive-through penalty. That was Dimitrov's race compromised.
That was sort of where things were unraveling for Alpha Flow on our side.
He eventually wound up having an incident in his own right.
Seeing as Michael Dimitrov's out of the session now. We'll see what Macaulay does.
And I was trying my hardest to get back to the pits without crashing.
We're on board with him right now as he winds his way around, and he is indeed coming into pit lane. That has to be for the intermediate tire.
I managed to get it back to pit road and I got the set of inners put on.
Corbin Macaulay, he's going to fall down the field here a little bit as he has indeed switched on to the intermediate tire.
The way everything shook out, Jason Butler suddenly found himself in the lead.
I just wanted to, show what I was capable of, just to go out on a good note that year.
And so your race leader right now is Jason Butler in the 5190 Racing Bugatti. So this could be a very, very interesting finish here.
I'm okay in the rain.
Jason, he was a guy that's been consistent on track. Maybe he didn't get all of the results he was expecting or looking for to that point in the season, but he was a known commodity in the series and a guy who could put up a competitive fight whenever the situation called for it.
This has easily become the most interesting race of the season.
Suddenly, he's got a clear track ahead of him.
We have Jason Butler in the lead right now with just over 5 laps remaining.
The problem now, though, there was a distinct tire discrepancy between our final 2 combatants.
Jason Butler still hanging on to his lead. He's got it up to about 6 seconds over Don Casa now.
When Macaulay rejoins on lap 30 after coming in for the intermediate tires, at that point, he's 9.5 seconds back of Jason Butler in the lead.
9 seconds back with 5.5 laps to go. I didn't think it was even remotely possible.
It's just a matter of just keeping it on the track and making sure you're hitting your marks if you're Jason Butler at this point.
I mentioned earlier, Corbin Macaulay's fast just about anywhere you go. He's also very precise. This was going to be a full display of skill if he was able to make the comeback.
I didn't think about anything happening behind me. Just look forward, run your corners. If somebody catches me, they catch me.
If it was to end the way it is right now, we're looking at our 4th different winner this season.
Jason Butler, he's trying to hold on to the intermediate. The question now is whether or not those intermediates were going to hang on long enough for him.
My tires were dead with 4 laps to go.
Butler does go wide there out of Jinsao.
I was everywhere on the track.
As he comes across the line, there's 4 laps remaining in tonight's race.
As the laps tick down, you saw the gap start to get a little bit smaller.
Currently the gap's 5.7 seconds over second place.
I started to notice that the times were dramatically falling. And at that point, I was like, okay, maybe this is actually possible.
He begins lap number 34, so 3 laps remaining. Your leader is the 5190 Racing Bugatti of Jason Butler.
Corbin erased multiple seconds per lap.
The developing story right now is the 5190 Racing Bugatti of Jason Butler still in the lead here, although Don Caza is trying to close that gap. It's down to 4 seconds now.
So I was pushing about as hard as you possibly could, right?
And that gap is down to, it's down to 3.2 seconds now, 3.13.
I was pushing every corner to its limit. I was pushing every brake zone to its limit. The more I saw that those times decrease, the more I thought this is possible, that I could actually make this work.
Butler knows it's go time now as we're on to lap 35, 2 laps remaining.
And so we come to the final couple laps, lap 35 specifically. That's where comeback Corbin continues his quest to try and get back to the head of the field.
Certainly a popular win this would be if Jason Butler was to cross the start-finish line and see the checkered flag waving for him. That gap is still coming down. It's down to 3 seconds now, with Corbin McCauley just 1 second behind him as well.
It was so challenging because I wanted that win so badly. And I was just thinking, I want more, right? That's just kind of that racer's mentality. You want more.
Butler was one of the first to pit for the intermediate tires.
You see the gap drop to about 4.5 seconds between McCauley and Butler. And at that point, you start to wonder, is this possible? Is Corbin McCauley going to come back and steal this one from Jason Butler?
3.6 seconds now the gap. Corbin McCauley trying feverishly to get back up to second place here, and it looks like he has.
Even though it was raining all over, there were fireworks right up until the end.
And it'll be a spirited effort from Corbin McCauley here at the end to try and catch Jason Butler.
Final lap. Jason Butler's leading by 4 seconds over Corbin McCauley as they cross the start-finish line.
We're on to the final lap now of tonight's Fix Auto Charlottetown Brazilian Grand Prix.
Meanwhile, in the background, you get Corbin McCauley charging.
That gap is melting away still, 2.7 seconds now. Corbin McCauley trying everything he can to try and get back to Jason Butler.
I come around the first couple corners and end up in sector 2, and I notice I've already made up 2 seconds.
That gap is still going down, 2.3, 2.2 seconds now.
Once you see that maroon, black, and white paint scheme in your mirrors, there's got to be a little bit of get up and go there.
McCauley certainly on the fresher intermediates, and it's down to 1.8. Corbin McCauley trying absolutely everything he can here at the very end.
By the time I got up to the 3rd sector, it was less than a second and a half.
And we'll see if he's able to steal this victory here. And if he can, that would be a steal of epic proportions here.
I knew once I got past the S's, I'd be kind of okay.
Get to the 3rd sector, and I'm down to a second. Then it's 8/10, then it's 7/10. I might get this. And I see him.
McCauley certainly giving it absolutely everything as they come through. Mergulio, Butler still holding on to the lead.
At that point, when I saw him, I tried to get it behind him because I wanted to get the slipstream.
Through Jinsao for the final time.
As he came out of Jinsao for that final time, it felt like even though the gap was coming down, you saw the light at the end of the tunnel if you were Jason Butler.
So I got in, tucked in behind him, and I was gaining, and then the finish line hit, and that was it.
He came a little quicker than I expected.
And as they come onto the straight, we'll see if we have enough time for Corbin McCauley here, but it looks like Jason Butler's going to hang on as he passes the start-finish line. Here goes your winner, the 5190 Racing Bugatti of Jason Butler.
I cannot believe that happened.
What an unbelievable run here. Corbin McCauley nearly had him. I think another lap he may have gotten it.
If there was one more lap, I was a sitting duck.
Jason Butler, he was able to keep everything very, very precise, which was exactly what the situation called for.
Your race winner for the first time this year, first time in the Formula One Series, it's the 5190 Racing Bugatti of Jason Butler. Certainly a well-earned victory for the London, Ontario native.
He deserved to eventually get the win.
Oh, nice win.
He remained calm. He didn't make any mistakes.
Yeah, nice win. Nice win.
Ultimately, he was able to hang on.
I have to say, certainly a very popular victory.
He was the first one. He took intermediates. He took that gamble. Nice win, man. Nice win.
The final gap winds up being 0.992 seconds. Corbin McCauley made up about 3 seconds over the course of that final lap.
Crossed the line, and it was a matter of finally.
For the first time this year, Jason Butler picking up the win.
You put in a lot of work, and it's nice to have something to say, hey, I did this. For a little split second there, I'm not gonna lie, it was like, yeah, let's go. It was good, and I think it unlocked a lot because I was able to pull out some more wins. I had that belief that I could do it.
Butler with the win, Corbin McCauley with second place and fastest lap. Don Kaza rounds out the podium finishers. Dan Cudmore finishes fourth in his Alpha Flow Honda. Mike Marini rounds out the top 5 in his True North race in Renault. Cody Cudmore finishes 6th in the Silver Hornet Mercedes. Mark Cox comes home 7th for MC Race Lab. Ivan Reynolds picks up a few points for Aries Racing in 8th. Darcy Cudmore makes it a double points finish for Silver Hornet in 9th. And rounding out the top 10 is the Hurricane E-Motorsports Honda of Colin Doran.
So it's all over. The gamble works out. Jason Butler has his first win within what was then the Canadian E-Motorsports Network.
Kudos to him for maintaining his composure.
He's a guy who came in, was immediately a popular driver. The results were never necessarily there for him.
He was an underdog when it came to taking on the series champion head-to-head.
And as soon as I realized that and knew that it was Jason's first win, that's when I was like, yes, Jason, let's go, right?
It showed he could handle the sudden pressure of holding a lead in the wet on a very tricky racetrack, being chased by the dominating champion.
Even though it was raining, the sun was finally shining on Jason Butler, and it was finally his moment.
He deserved it big time.
It was awesome to see. He's someone who is very well liked on the track and within our series.
Even still to this day is one of the more popular victories that we have had in the history of the E-Motorsports Network.
I really wanted to congratulate him personally. That was an awesome achievement.
That's the important thing to me, right? It's always about respect.
It was an underdog win. It was a popular win. It was a Hail Mary, I'm going to throw on these tires at this point and see if it pays off type win.
All the drama that came with it, it just made it all that much better.
It was an awesome gamble and an awesome kind of sports moment throughout the year, and it'll go down as one of those classic finishes that we've ever had.
In the group chat, obviously, everyone was congratulating me.
It was a different type of classic race where it wasn't a wheel-to-wheel, drivers exchanging the leads and having to maneuver around one another. It was a spread-out race. It was a race where you had somebody take a gamble and run out to a right big lead, and it was a matter of could they hold it?
We've been thrilled to have him here since day one.
I love racing against him. He's a great person.
Great to see one go the way of the good guys.
For other people to be excited for me to pull something out, it was quite nice.
Despite not winning in Brazil, the second place finish for Corbin McCauley was enough to wrap up the Constructors' Championship for Hurricane E-Motorsports.
It was really cool to lock down both the Drivers and the Constructors' Championship.
Which made the final round Abu Dhabi Grand Prix a little bit of a processional.
And welcome back to continuing coverage of tonight's Holland College Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Ultimately, it was the number 80 Hurricane E-Motorsports Honda coming out with his 10th victory of the season.
Corbin McCauley is going to make it a perfect 10. His 10th victory of the season comes at the Holland College Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Having the college on my back was awesome because at the time I was a full-time Holland College student, and being able to represent them in a way that I could show versus stick and ball kind of sport, it was really cool that I had at least that little bit of representation.
We'd be remiss if we went about talking about the 2020 F1 series without referencing Zach Sullivan, the driver of the number 65 North Border Racing Ferrari.
I was disappointed to hear the news of his passing.
It's incredibly sad. Another guy who really took a chance on what we were doing.
He was someone that I certainly became familiar with after multiple seasons of racing alongside him.
He presented a competitive foil to a lot of the drivers over the course of that season.
He was a tremendous racer.
Yeah, you saw all the potential in the world.
Zach was so talented.
I just remember him being a fierce competitor.
His natural speed, he was very fast, especially on the open wheel side.
He'd won a couple of times very early on in the season as everyone else sort of got their bearings.
He was someone that you loved to race against and be around.
He was almost always competitive.
He was there, raced cleanly.
He fought hard each and every week while we were on the racetrack.
He was arguably the brightest of the new drivers that we saw.
It was a treat to share the track with him every time. He competed with us for multiple seasons.
You know, I think about all the positives that he brought to that first season of Formula One within the E-Motorsports network.
Hoped that he would be someone that would be part of our community for a long time.
He was the guy that we were really looking forward to continuing to race with, continuing to build around.
He was a good guy.
He always had a really good spirit about him.
He was just always a joy.
He'll be missed by us for a long time, and he'll always be a member of our motorsports network.
I'm glad he was part of our league, part of our journey.
The fact that he's not here now to be able to continue enjoying that, it's incredibly sad, and we miss him, and he's always going to be part of the E-Motorsports Network family. After that initial 2020 F1 Series season, we've had 3 additional Formula One seasons since.
The points suddenly were awarded to the entire field, which I think was a good move. It encourages racing through all positions on the track.
I don't know how I had that kind of level of talent in Formula One back then, because it hasn't come back.
The 2021 series, that was won by Daniel Cudmore.
Darcy Ford is officially the driver's champion for season 3.
2022 and 2023 saw a bit of a shift in the introduction of the All-Star Series.
Man, oh man, it is so good to be back on the air here for the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. This time bringing you the F1 All-Star Series, presented by Rampage Coffee Company. And it's just about time for our season opener, the Australian Grand Prix from the virtual Albert Park Street Circuit in Melbourne, Australia. Which allowed certain drivers to be racing in cars that were, say, more powerful and faster than others, which really evened the competition up and has made for some exciting racing.
Darcy Ford would win the 2 All-Star Series seasons, showcasing just how complete he is in any series that he steps behind the wheel at.
Darcy Ford, and he is officially the overall F1 All-Star Racing Series champion.
With the move to iRacing having been made in 2023, we'll have to see what the future holds for Formula Series within the iRacing platform.
We're going to have a rookie victory in the GTR 250 as Justin Belmonte scores his first career victory. It's going to be another first career victory in the Canadian Motorsports Network Dark Series for Season 2. It's the number 32 of Charlie Sears taking the checkered flag. Andy Hurdle, first career win in the NASCAR Series. How about that? To the checker flag, he remains undefeated on the road and street courses. Bradley Sexton to victory lane. Drag race full line for the 250. Kurt is gonna steal it!
It'd be interesting to see how it comes back and what form that takes.
Looking forward, as we've really become entrenched in this iRacing world. Look forward to future Formula Racing series.
Now, if we could make it work, I feel like a Formula One series on iRacing would be really, really spectacular.
But it looks like Jason Butler's going to hang on as he passes the start-finish line. Here goes your winner, the 5190 Racing Bugatti of Jason Butler.
The fact that it's been 5 years, just how much has changed in said 5 years is absolutely mind-blowing. To be a part of that is really special.
And that's what it's all about, right? It's about having fun. I love it. I love everyone involved, all the organizers, amazing. So that's why I keep coming back. It's the people, right?
I look at the 2020 Brazilian Grand Prix for us to be the most exciting, drama-filled, entertaining race we've had yet.
To this day, it was one of the coolest wins in anything we've ever done.
This race had everything. It had the champion who had run out to a lead and who has dominated. It allowed him to showcase his skills. It had multiple retirements and crashes. It had that sort of drama. It had multiple safety cars. It had different leaders. It had an underdog who had a Hail Mary call in the pits. It had rain, the champion chasing down the leader from a great distance back as the laps ticked away. I think it had everything you would want in an exciting race.
It's definitely by far one of the most popular wins and one that's going to be remembered for a long time.
And it had a real popular, feel-good win and finish to it.
The race just had this excitement to it. People get excited for Brazil. That's just how it works, right?
It's really amazing at how much happened in such a short period of time.
Like if you were to script a real life race, chances are you couldn't get it as good as that finish. It'll forever be a race that's remembered within the E-Motorsports network.
I think this one will go down as our most exciting race that we've ever been a part of.
I love the E-Motorsports network. It's been my life for the last 5 years, and I hope it continues for a long time.